everyone. What's going on? Welcome back to the pod. Thanks for being here. Please subscribe if you haven't. Rate it on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen. I'd appreciate it. You know what the deal is, though. You already know I want you to subscribe. I shouldn't even have to say it. And I look like I'm rapping right now in the video, but I'm not. I'm just doing my job. The day you're watching this, I'm going to be in Sacramento tonight. And then the next night after that, now I'm really rapping and DJing at the same time. I'm going to be in San Francisco at Cobb's Comedy Club. So if you're in the Bay, come through, all right? I'll be in Sunnyvale later in the year, but that's way down near San Jose. If you live up north, come through. And then the week after that, which is next week, that's crazy to think about, I'm going to be in Providence, Rhode Island for a whole week of shows, living a life, man, vacation life, Rhode Island, Newport. Bro, let's have a time. And after that, I'm going to be in Portland, Oregon, May 9th through the 10th. No, it's actually 10th through the 11th. I'm stupid. And then Seattle later that month. Big month, man. Pacific Northwest. Shout out. Rain, trees, nice people, and more rain. I can't wait. And on this pod, dude, we're talking, look, the tour, we're off and running. The tour kicked off, man. First show in LA was last week, so I'm going to talk about that. And again, I have a lot more cities that I'm coming to, so just make sure you go to the link in the description, see all the cities I'm going to, and there's going to be more added. People are asking for New York, Nashville, Denver, Philly, all these places I'm going to go to later in the year. Don't worry, man. If you're in a big city, I'm going. And if you're in a small city, I may come too. I'm going to fucking Panama City this year. Where's that? I don't know, but I bought a ticket there, and I'm going. Anyways, I hope you're doing well. Currently in LA right now. Beautiful day. Beautiful day. And I'm a busy guy. Got a couple days before I had to kind of do all my editing and all my work with the pod before I leave tomorrow to go to Sacramento. And I leave the same day of the show, which is always weird. I make sure to leave early. It's a quick flight, Burbank to Oakland. I'm staying with my mommy, which is either cute or sad, because maybe you'd think I'd be balling in some hotel in San Francisco, living life. Not really, dude. Not really. But the tour kicked off, and it was really weird to have the first show be like a hometown show at a club I go to every week. It was a very surreal experience, and I tell you what, man, it was also just this weirdly gloomy day. It's been beautiful in LA, and that day of the last Friday for the LA show, it was just gloomy and cold. I was like, ugh, this put me in a weird vibe, and I had so many mixed emotions, man. I definitely felt a level of nerves that I did not expect, and it wasn't even like nervous for the show. It was almost just nervous for just the experience and where ticket sales are at, and mechanically I have new camera stuff. There was just so many. I would have moments throughout the day where I'd feel nervous, I'd feel excited, I'd feel anxious, I'd feel like I was dreading it a little bit. Really just a total roller coaster of emotions. And it also feels weird sometimes when I knew I had a lot of friends that were going to come. I mean, a handful of friends that were going to come, and which is always a little bit weird, because you know that you'll see people you know in the crowd. You'll see them after. It's just it creates like a different dynamic, and you want to make sure it's a good show if you have friends coming out, because they probably brought their friends, and they were like, you know, hey, we'll see if this guy's funny. Oh, he's a friend of yours? Well, fucking let's see if he's good. You know, and I don't think they're thinking that, but that's how I feel. You know, I think it was just the first show. It was like all the elements that make me kind of nervous. And I think the first show, I'm going to feel that kind of nerve-wracking energy anyways, just because it's, you know, I haven't headlined a show in almost, you know, 3-4 months. And so it's that thing of like riding a bike again, which I've said this before, I can barely ride a bike, but the analogy is for you guys. And I was just had this like, it's not like I was thinking, can I do this? It was more feeling like a little bit shaky emotionally, where I knew the set was going to go well, but there's always it's everything around it that I was kind of nervous about, and there was also this pressure of this idea of selling it out. And the reason I put a lot of pressure on myself for this one, more than really any other show this year, was, you know, this club I'll back up a little bit. And I think I've talked about this before, but in LA, it's really tough to get stage time. Quality stage time is very hard in this city. So me getting spots at this club, Flappers, it's like 10 minutes away. Their shows are always fun. And the booker, shout out to Josh, has been giving me spots a lot. And we've kind of had this understanding where it's kind of like, I give you spots with the hope that you will do a show here and sell it out. And I knew that. And that's why when I needed to add a show in LA after the Netflix Fest, I was like, well, I want to do it at Flappers because they've been so good to me that I want to repay the favor, right? And kind of have the broker this deal together where you scratch my back a lot, I'm going to scratch yours, And again, it was under this idea of I'm one of the people he thinks that he will foster or the relationship with at the club with the hopes of me selling out the main room, right? And he's not just giving me spots, I'm sure, just because I can sell out a show there. It's also just I've been going there for years. We know each other. He thinks I'm funny. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's just this idea of selling it out. And the room seats 200. And so I knew for the Netflix show, I sold 50 tickets. And so to me, doing another 200 on a Friday night, to me, I was like, should be no problem. And I'd be getting the ticket counts in, not super frequently, but when I would get them, it was like moving kind of slow. And I was like, it's going to be close whether I can sell this out or not. And it was just really felt the pressure because I wanted the hypothesis that the club had that I can do this, I wanted to not let them down. But really it was just almost not letting myself down because I had this expectation of what the show should be and how many tickets I should sell. And it was stressing me out a little bit. So, it's that plus the first show plus friends being there. It was just weird to kind of go about my normal day, my normal routine when I'm off the road, going to the gym, making myself breakfast in the morning, and then to know that I have this big show at the end of the day is weird. It's not like, and I did a big LA show last year, but this one just felt different. I think I'm used to having a routine on the road where I wake up in a hotel, I go to the gym, I walk to get some random coffee, we go to a diner. It's just, I don't know, it was weird having that same routine in LA. And so, and another thing is I also had, I had a new camera set up. So I have the same camera. I bought another camera that I use to shoot myself, to shoot the crowd. So I'm sure you can see in the clips, when it works out, I have a camera that's pointing towards the crowd, and I'm not the only one that does this. No one does it better than Blaustein, because he has our boy Jesse literally on stage, like handheld camera pivoting back and forth between whoever he's talking to. But me, I just have a tripod with a stationary camera that's shooting the crowd, and I'm like, hopefully I talk to someone that it captures, right? And so I upgraded the camera for that, so the quality should be better. But it's my first time using it, so I'm like, hopefully it all works and everything's okay, So it's just another thing to be worried about, right? So my boy Anthony opened for me. We live very close, so I went scooped him up. And on the way to the show, he told me something that I want to talk to you guys about, and I want to get your take. And please tell me in the comments what you think about this. So he's running a show at a venue. And I'm going to keep it all, I'm not going to say the names of anything. I was going to, because I'm going to talk a little bit of shit. But Kaylee was like, don't say anything specific. So I'm not going to. But Anthony's running, he runs a show every week in LA, and he found a new venue to do his show at. And the guy who ran the venue, I'll just tell you what I heard, and then I'll back up. So he told Anthony, he said, just a heads up, some people who do your show regularly are banned from my venue. And he said, just so you know, your buddy Will Burkart is banned from my club. Okay? Let me back up. So, and this is, by the way, the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is like pulling up to the club. We're going over a hill. You see the marquee. The marquee says Jay Leno, Will Burkart, Pauly Shore. It's like, whoa, this is cool. And then Anthony's telling me this information. And this is nothing against Anthony for telling this, right? Maybe he could have thought, maybe I shouldn't bring this up right before the show. But either way, we were just catching up as friends, right? Which is, to me, more important than anything, is just to be friends with, well, not to be friends with my openers, but to this is still a friendship first. And then it's kind of like a working relationship, if that makes sense. So he tells me this. And so thinking back, so here's how I got banned from this place. The guy who runs it, I would say friends with, known him for years. Every time I see him, we would always give each other, a hug, catch up, talk, be genuine, like good dude, always been cool, right? So I do his show. This is like, 2 years ago or something. I do his show, and there's a whole thing when it comes to promotion of shows. A lot of people have asked me about this, but I don't really promote local LA shows that much because a couple of reasons. Number one, I usually need to save that kind of demand for when I'm doing a big show like this one. So I want you to come out and see this one, not some other random show. And also, I'm working out a lot of new material, so I don't want my fans to come see me at these local shows because I'm like, I may not do super well because I'm working out new material. So I only promote a local show if I have to. And so this venue and this guy, they promoted the show, and I didn't repost the flyer, which I oftentimes don't with places. And unless someone asks me, if they're like, can you do this? I'll be like, okay. And I didn't promote the flyer. Not really thinking about it too much. I was kind of like, I'm not going to repost this one. Whatever. I'm working out some stuff. I don't want people to see me. I think I was probably gearing up for the tour, right? So I get to the show, and everyone on the show is doing between 12 and 15 minutes, and I saw on the list that I'm doing 6 minutes. And I was like, that's weird. And I say what's up to him, the guy who runs it, and he was like, barely even acknowledged me, kind of ignored me. And I was like, okay. He's being weird to me, and he cut my time by a third. What's going on? I go up. I don't even really have a good set either, which is just another, I don't even know if that matters, but it was just the crowd kind of sucked. And it was just a weird night. So I left being like, I think that he's mad at me, and I'm confused as to why. And the only reason I can think of is that I didn't repost the flyer, but would that be enough that this kind of seemingly friend of mine would be like, fuck you? There's no way. But I was so rubbed the wrong way by this experience that I just never hit him up again for spots. I was like, yeah, I got a weird vibe from this whole thing. I don't really want to go there anymore. So that's all that happened. And I never talked to this guy again. I think I noticed that the show account that was following me, they unfollowed me, which I know he controls it. So he unfollowed me. So clearly something happened. But I didn't care enough to try to investigate. I felt like I never gave him a reason to be upset. So I was kind of just forgot about it. It was a weird thing, forgot about it. And so now, cut to 2 years later, Anthony's like, yeah, he told me specifically that you are banned. And from what he said, it was because I didn't repost the flyer and I left him on scene when he asks maybe the group chat to repost the flyer or whatever. So that was the reason. And to me, I think it's very petty and not how you handle that situation. I think what I would have preferred is that if he told me, because here's the thing, I take ownership of if I mess up. There would be some people that would say, oh, you fucked up because you should have promoted the show. And I'm fine with that. I will take ownership of that. I probably should have promoted it since he, I guess, had asked, right? But the thing that I wish happened is that, especially as kind of we're friends, he needs to talk to me to be like, hey, man, next time you do the show, you got to repost the flyer. I can't put you up again if you don't. If he had told me that, I would have been like, oh, shit, my bad, dude. Absolutely. I didn't realize it meant that much. I will completely do that next time. My bad. You guys know me. I will take ownership. I will be a good dude about this, right? But the fact that he didn't do any of that and just unknowingly banned me, now I'm like, well, I don't want to make amends. I think Anthony also said something along the lines of oh, I think he, if you hit him up and I'm sure you guys can talk through it and it's not that big of a deal. And at first I was like, yeah, maybe I will, because I don't want to make any enemies in this game, and I still want to go do Anthony's show there. But then I was like, no, I'm not going to make peace with this dude. To me, I think that's petty. I think you're not really being a man. You got to talk to me, instead of just secretly banning me. Nah, dude, talk to me, man. I'm an easy guy to talk to. I'm a nice guy. That's what I think should have happened. So now I'm I'm out. I'm off that. I don't care. I don't want to make peace. That's how you're going to operate as a business. And this guy has a long list of people who are banned. Friends of mine are banned. Not normal, by the way. No clubs. If a club bans someone, that's a big deal. No one's banned from clubs. So that's the story. Let me know in the comments what you think, because I'm very curious. And everything's, I don't want to tell you what the venue is, who the guy is. That doesn't matter. But this is just a story that happened to me in the comedy world, and I wanted to share with you guys. And yeah, just get your thoughts. So comment your thoughts on that. What do you think? And maybe, do you think I should hit him up to move past this, and so I can still perform there? Because to me, stage time is the most important thing. But I don't know if I want it, if this is what it takes. So that's on the way to the show. So now I'm going to talk about getting to the show. So it was, I said this at the beginning, it's weird doing a show at your home club, because I think, mainly because just I know everyone. I know the staff. I know other comedians who hang out there. I'm just very accessible, which I'm not used to. Everyone is just kind of used to talking to you. They're coming in and out of the green room. I found myself having very little alone time, which was tough. But I love everyone who was talking to me, whether it's the staff members, other comedians who were there. I love all those people. So it's nothing against them, but I found myself kind of missing that dynamic where I was almost just anonymous and kind of just another comedian, because I just felt very kind of distracted and I think physically a little bit drained, just because socially drained, I think is a better way to say that, just because I was having to talk and communicate a lot and run around doing stuff. And I like the idea of just the only people that know me personally are just the fans, my opener, and that's it. It's just tough for me to give a lot to people in the midst of this this one especially, kind of like a nerve-wracking experience, right? To me, if I'm on the road doing these types of shows, it's like I'm on a mission. I get in, get out, goodbye. So this one was very different, and so it kind of added to my nerves a little bit, just because I felt like I was having to do a lot of talking and not really having a lot of time to myself, which was hard. And again, if anyone who was talking to me before the show listens to this, it's not personal. I love everyone who was around, but again, it was just I needed a little bit more me time, right? So yeah, and then ticket sales ended up not selling out. It was damn close. We got to me. This is all me. No one helps. I think I said almost 180. So I was damn close. So, I made sure to know. I talked to Josh and was basically like, "How do we feel about this?" And he was like, "I feel awesome about this." So I'm like, "Okay, all good then." But I was like, I really would have loved to get that sellout, So the show itself, I get on stage and immediately they are showing me so much love. They are cheering, they are it was really, whoa. It was, I haven't gotten that reaction in a long time, so I really felt the love, man. Really. And I get into the first few jokes and they were doing pretty well, pretty well. And then I went into the crowd and had kind of two crowd work moments that didn't really go anywhere. Again, crowd work is gambling. So whoever you decide to talk to, maybe it's not going to work out. It's maybe not going to be funny. You don't see the clips online of having an interaction with someone who's very boring and I got nothing funny to say. That happens all the time, right? So I have two moments that I was like, all right, they're okay. And I was, I'm going to go back to material, right? I was planning on doing a few jokes up top, do a little crowd work, go back into some jokes, back into crowd work, and then do the rest of the set. So when I went back to jokes for the first time, I found myself almost battling to get laughs. It was the chunk of the time where it was, I don't know when in the set, but it was this chunk of time where I was like, yo, I'm doing okay. I've done better in that room on a Tuesday with 25 people than I'm doing with an almost sold out show of all my fans. And I had to almost stop myself from being like, hey, what's going on, guys? At one point, I kind of did a little bit. I was kind of like, hey, you guys need to wake up. But I definitely felt myself getting frustrated. But I was like, be cool. And I swear, man, it felt like it took me 30 minutes before I felt like I fully had this crowd rocking. And at that point, I did. The rest of the set, banging. That 30 to 50, that 20 minutes right there, slamming, fun, great. Especially because I posted a clip today that you'll see So you'll see this today. I posted it yesterday. The boob guy clip. Dude, that was like deep into the set. That was around that 30-minute mark. And that saved me. That kid was so fucking great and so funny. And it was such a perfect moment. He was like a perfect crowd work companion because he was not trying to be too funny. He was keeping it short and sweet, was excited. He was just perfect. His name is Ethan. Shout out to him. And it just saved the show. It elevated the whole show. It gave me that one kind of banger moment that I look for every show, especially when it comes to crowd work. I need that one moment. I want that big moment every show, and then I'm happy. And so once that happened, then the set was like, now we're cooking. And from there on out, it was awesome. And it was just it was just a really interesting experience because up to that point I was kind of like battling, and then in a room that's fire. But after that we were cooking, and it ended up being a great show and a great meet and greet after. Here's a little tidbit I forgot about is I like to close the show out myself, meaning once I'm done, I put the mic in the stand. I kind of give a genuine thank you to people and also explain the merch and meet and greet situation, and then I say goodbye. And then the show's over. I don't have the opener come back on and close the show out. I just have that. But I had this moment where I ended the set, people are cheering, and I realized I'm like, yo, I'm kind of stinky. And I'm like, shit, I'm going to have to go right to the meet and greet. Stinking? Hey, nice to meet you, Will. Oh my God. Will Burkart's got BO? Interesting. Blog, Reddit. So I was like, fuck. So I had, and thank God Anthony was in the back of the room. And he didn't think he was going to go back on stage, but he was there just in case because he's my fucking boy. And I kind of was like, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to have him come up, and then the time it took for him to close the show and for me to run to the outside area with the meet and greet, I was going to run to the green room, slap deodorant on, and then run to the show, run to the meet and greet. And so I did that, dude. I closed the thing and I said, Anthony, yeah, come. And then I ran to the green room, put deodorant on, ran, and was at the meet and greet. Hey, let's do it. I smell okay now. And just no one would ever know that. I mean, I was out of breath and sweaty, but that's to be expected after I'm crushing for 25 minutes. Dude, yeah, and the people at the meet and greet were so cool, man. That's what was even more surprising, where it was like the show was kind of tough, but the people were so sweet and so cool. And I have a theory as to why the show wasn't like a little bit better. I think the crowd was largely like internet people who have never really been to a stand-up show before and maybe don't get out a lot, respectfully. And I think they just weren't sure. They weren't a typical comedy audience. So that's why I think I felt a bit of a disconnect sometimes. And so I think that's my theory. But overall, it was definitely one of the harder crowds I've had headlining. Anthony was like, that's the hardest crowd you've had. And so I was very like, I think what a big lesson that I learned from it is that I've talked about this before, and that I'm very critical of myself. I'm very hard on myself. But then you get all these messages after. You get people tagging you, you get all these messages, and people are like, oh my God, so fun, had the best time, go see him, X, Y, and Z. And that's the most important part, is that regardless of how I feel, they probably felt very different and had a great time. And so that was a really good lesson to learn of me having a whatever, moments of kind of like a whatever time, knowing that they had a great time. Like, that's such an important experience to have for the rest of the year. And so I was just very relieved after the show was done, man. I feel like every show will be cake after this one because there was so much going into it. It was such a unique experience, and for better and for worse, that I think I'm just ready to kind of move on from this. I feel great about the set itself. The set was that 50 minutes. That shit was tight. There was no lulls. I felt great about it. And so that's good. But man, I'm definitely relieved that the LA show is over. And if you came, thank you so much. Everyone was so sweet and so cool after. That made it all worth it, man, for real. And it was funny. It's like the night after that, I went and just did regular spots at Comedy Magic Club. And it's funny to go do from like the most high stakes type of experience to then doing like 9 minutes for a bunch of people that don't know me. Dude, it felt, I was so relaxed. I was like, oh, dude, let's just go have fun. And I had 2 sets there. Bro, I crushed both of them. And I don't like saying that because it's not for me to say, but I'm being real with you guys, man. I had some of my best sets I've ever had there. I think the set was sharp. I was in a good vibe, and it was just this relief. There was no pressure. I can just be myself and relax. So it helped me, I think, really have a good set. And then the next day, Richard, the guy who books the club, texted me actually late that night asking if I want to go to the Clippers game the next day with him. He has season tickets. Your boy woke up early and went to a noon Clippers game with the booker of the club. Just me and him, 7 rows up from the basket. Shout out. Really fun time. So that about covers the LA show. I do want to mention one more thing before I go. And so at the end of the night, at the end of the meet and greet, there was this dude who came out to me, kind of young, good-looking dude, and he was saying that he said, "Hey, I'm a comedian also. I just want to say hey." And I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you, man." I was like, "Were you in the show?" And he's like, "Oh no, I'm going to the next show." And he asked me if he can take a picture with me. He was kind of like backed off, and he was like, "Oh, you know what? Can I get a picture with you?" And I was like, "Of course, man." We take a picture, and he tagged me in it the next day and was saying like, you know, LA's crazy. I'm got to meet one of my favorite comedians. This is so cool. And I remember seeing that picture and seeing that moment, and I don't know if he's listening right now, but it was very meaningful to me because it wasn't just someone asking me to take a picture with them, which is always meaningful, but this one, having another newer comedian ask me to, was really special because I remember being that guy, being a new comic who is in LA and is amongst his favorite comedians and wants to go meet them and wants to take a picture but feels almost kind of embarrassed about it. And posting the picture, it's like, dude, I did all those things. And I'm going to tell kind of an embarrassing story that I've never really talked about. Well, it's not that big of a deal, but when I visited LA, I think I was visiting LA, and this is when my senior year of college was wrapping up, and that's when I started stand-up, was that senior year of college. And I was visiting LA to see if basically that's somewhere I would want to live. And the 2 nights I was here, I went by myself. I had a job interview with this production company, which I never ended up getting, but I was just came out by myself and just checked out the city. And I went to the Comedy Store both nights. And the first night, I met Adam Ray after the show, and he talked to me for like 30 minutes. He could not have been cooler. He was giving me cool advice. Dude, he gave me his number. He said, "Hit me up when you move here." And he was like one of my favorites. I had been doing stand-up a year at this point. This was in 2015, could be 2014 or 2015. I think it was 2015. Yeah, it was. And that experience was so cool to me. I was like, oh my God, I texted my friend Luke. I was like, dude, I met Adam Ray. He was so cool to me. This is so crazy. And then the next night, I was leaving the Comedy Store after doing the same thing again. Didn't meet anyone in the back, but I was leaving, and then I see Brent Morin on the patio. At this point, Brent was like one of my favorite comedians, one of my absolute favorites, a dude who kind of inspired me at that point in my life to really start doing stand-up. And which, again, I've never really told him this, so it's kind of embarrassing to talk about because now Brent's like a dear friend of mine, and I'm sure many of you would watch The Lion's Den, the podcast we did with me, him, and Jason Collins a couple years ago. And so it's weird to say this because he was like, he's such a friend now, but he really was one of my favorite comedians and someone I really looked up to. And so I was like walking out and I saw him and I was like, oh man. And I walked up to him and I was like, hey, we didn't know each other. It was at like Brent was like the guy at this point. He was on Undateable. His Netflix special came out. He was one of the top guys. And so I was like, hey man, just wanted to meet you and say what's up. I think you're one of my favorites. And he was like, oh man, thanks. So sweet. And then I walk away and I was like, and I turned back and I said, you know what? Can we take a picture? And we took a picture together and I posted that online. And I think that when this kid that night asked me for a picture, I just remembered that. I remember that experience of when I asked Brent to take a picture almost 10 years ago and how much that moment meant to me and the fact that the tables are turned and now I'm one of the guys that these young comics look at and want to meet and take a picture with. It's so meaningful And it's so special to have gotten to that point because I've worked really hard, and I love that that is where my life is at now. And I feel incredibly grateful to be in that position. It feels really special. So I don't know if that guy's listening, but shout out to him. And it was just a really nice moment for me. And also, rest in peace to Brent's brother, Matt. He passed away earlier this month. I've spent a decent amount of time with Matt over the years. He was such a sweet guy and just had a really great life and a lot of time ahead of him. And so it's really, really tough that got cut short. I don't know what happened. I don't really need to know what happened, but I'd say just send Brent some love, go watch his stuff, go support him when he comes to your city. And so yeah, just want to give kind of a somber shout out to that. And that's it. That's the podcast. Again, I'm going to be in Sacramento tonight, San Francisco tomorrow, and then I'm going to be in Providence, Rhode Island, and then Portland, Seattle, and then a bunch of Florida and Texas dates, Panama City, St. Pete, Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. So please come out to a show. Please comment anything, all your thoughts, especially if you're at the LA show. If you have any thoughts that I maybe got wrong or maybe you don't agree with, let me know. And yeah, just appreciate you guys for tuning in. I really love doing this every week and just appreciate you guys being there. So anyways, have a good rest of the week, and I will see you guys soon.